We're going to call Akron City Council meeting to order. There we go, that's better. We're going to call Akron City Council meeting to order. Clerk will read the roll.
Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
For those who voluntarily wish to do so, will you please stand as we are led in prayer by Councilman Neal. Following our prayer, we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Marilyn Keefe.
Every individual that's here, and family that's represented, and families across the city. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk will read the minutes from our previously held meeting.
Minutes from the previous meeting, May 14th, 2018. Council convened in regular session at 7 p.m. with President Somerville in the chair. Minutes of the previous regular meeting were approved. All members were present except Kamer and Hope, later excused. Reading of petitions and communications, passage of the consent agenda, report of standing and special committee, passage and referral of new ordinances and resolutions, representation from various departments and divisions, a public speaking period. No further business on a motion by Fusco. Council adjourned at 8:28 p.m. to reconvene in regular session on May 21st or special call.
Any corrections or additions?
Motion to approve.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay.
Letters, petitions, and communications.
Department of Planning, petition for Joe Blau, Elegant Homes for conditional use to construct an apartment development at the corner of Mull Avenue and Crawford Road.
File.
Petition of Jose Felix for a conditional use to construct a storage building for used tires at 623 East Avenue. File. Petition of Banner Supply Company for a conditional use to establish a retail and wholesale building material supply sales at 1265 Triplet Boulevard. File. Return showing service of notice of special assessment for the unimproved street resurfacing program per resolution 97, 2018. File. Return showing service of notice of special assessment for the arterial collector resurfacing program per resolution 87, 2018. File. Return showing service of notice of special assessments for the residential resurfacing program per resolution number 88, 2018. File. Notice of a new D1, D3, D3A liquor permit to 1295 East Talmadge Avenue, LLC, 1295 East Talmadge Avenue.
Special attention, Councilman Kilby.
Summary of income tax receipts through the end of April 2018.
File.
Okay.
We have before us the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Before we move into our regular agenda, we do have two special presentations on this evening. The very first one, I will actually turn it over to Councilwoman Marilyn Keefe.
Thank you, Madam President. If Coach Dan and if Coach Jeff would come forward, please. And you can bring the little guy with you. I mean, that's fine. Come on up. First, we have 2 rows full of students, well, and actually not all the students, but full of students that have participated in an extracurricular activity at their prospective schools. And what's so important about this is that this particular sport that they take part in is something brand new, and it's just now catching on. Kind of like soccer kind of slowly took over Akron. This is called, what you see in the front 2 rows are the robotics teams. Yeah, go ahead and wave, you guys. And here are the 2 coaches. And the reason why this is so important is that Coach Dan, right here beside me, I became familiar with their team because a proud parent called me and said, "You can't believe what this robotics team has done." And are you 4 years in now or 3? Oh dear. 5 years in. 5 years in. So you have to know that background. It started with Coach Dan recruiting some kids that were interested in this. And today this proclamation reads, to Firestone High School Robotics Team, whereas Firestone High School Robotics Team consists of 40 students assembled into 6 competitive teams, and whereas as a club they earned 3 excellence, 5 design, 2 judges, and 2 robotic skills awards at 8 regional competitions held across the state. All 6 teams qualified for the state championship. And whereas at the state championship, they earned the Innovate and did I say that right? And Energy Awards. 2 teams qualified for the World Tournament. How many? 2. It's unbelievable. Whereas in addition, the teams mentored the first competitive middle school team in Akron Public Schools. And whereas their teacher, Dan Spack, is very proud of them. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Akron City Council congratulates the Firestone High School robotics team and wishes them continued success. Would you all stand up if you're on the Firestone team, please? And I know that we have a proud former teacher here, Councilman Swirsky, who also has taught at your school that I am sure is very proud of all of you. Okay. Next we have, and you guys can sit down now, because we don't want you to share the spotlight with our first year ones, okay? So this is a proclamation to the Litchfield Middle School Largos. Whereas the Largos are the first competitive middle school robotics team in Akron Public Schools, whereas they earned 1 excellent, 1 design, and 1 judge regional award, and whereas they qualified for the state championship. Now remember, that's in their first year, where they earned design and tournament finalists. They also qualified for the World Tournament. Remember, this is their first year. And whereas their teacher, Jeff Whited, okay, is very proud of their accomplishments. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Akron City Council congratulates the Litchfield Middle School robotics team and wishes them continued success. Would you all stand, please? And one thing that should be noted, you can sit down, is if you saw the students standing up, you will see that this is no longer just a male sport, engineering, okay? So I counted 6 girls in the high school, and I believe 3 in the middle school that are here tonight, okay? So way to go, ladies, way to go, gentlemen, and I wish you, and as I am sure all of council does, the best of years yet to come, and thank you for representing not only the Akron Public Schools, but the city of Akron at world tournaments. That's very impressive. Thank you, and thank you, coaches.
Councilman Swirsky?
Yeah, I taught for 8 years at Firestone. Both my children went there. I recognize some of you and some of the parents, and I just want to thank you for all the hard work, the extra effort that I know goes into this kind of endeavor. And I hope that all of us are grateful for the extra support that your parents provided you and that they provide the Firestone District and Akron as a whole. So again, thank you for all of your work.
Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you, President. Just curious, I see the names on the shirts or numbers and something on your shirts. What do those stand for?
Do we have one representative?
Can somebody answer that?
Okay, so the numbers on the back of our shirts are team numbers. So all of Firestone is 7316, and then each individual team has a different letter. So like there's A through F, and D, and F are the ones K's worlds. And then on the front is just Firestone Robotics.
Litchfield?
And then for us, we have our school name on the front, and then in the middle it says 1340A. 1340 is Litchfield's number, and since there's only one team, we got the letter A.
Very good. Mr. Hardy?
Coaches, what do you think that number's for?
You really want to know?
Yes, chalk and that speed.
Okay, here, I'm embarrassed. When my first team decided to choose the number, we had to choose a unique number, and they chose the 16 as being their average age. Then they chose 73 as being mine. So we became, and we are very proudly, 7316.
That's very good. Mr. Hardy?
Thank you, Madam President. Just for the Litchfield team, we're incredibly proud of you. Just so you know, there are 2 Litchfield alums up here in Cabinet, myself and the Law Director, Eve Belfance. And for the Firestone grads, there are 3, actually 4 in our Cabinet, but Steve Fricker's not here tonight, including Adele, Eve, and myself. And just always remember, and it's so great for us to see, we were just talking, our motto is success is our tradition. And you guys are embodying that. So thank you so much for carrying this on.
And we just have one other special presentation. Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam President. Well, this is just a day that we celebrate excellence in the city of Akron, and I think we've become used to that down here. We're fortunate to have teachers, parents who give of their time and talents, and then students who take advantage of that and make our city proud by excelling in different areas. About a couple weeks back, we wanted to present this proclamation at that time, but some students were getting ready to go to the national championships. So I'm going to read this, but some things have happened since that time. So I'm going to ask Ms. Reynolds and the students that are with her from Buchtel Middle School. Come on in. Yeah. I'm going to ask Ms. Reynolds to share what happened afterwards. I'll read this proclamation, and then she can share what happened afterwards. Brooklyn Community Learning Center Business Professionals of America. Whereas middle school students and Business Professionals of America scholars from Brooklyn Community Learning Center represented Akron Public Schools at the State Leadership Conference in Columbus and Ghana. And De'Ara Watkins competed in keyboard production, and Gage Schaefer competed in prepared speech. All were coached by Brooklyn Instructional Specialist Ms. Reynolds. And whereas Gage and Yala were first place winners in their categories, and at that time would advance to the National Leadership Conference in Dallas, Texas in May. This proclamation says now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Akron City Council congratulates the students on their achievements and wishes them well in the upcoming conference. And I'm going to ask Ms. Reynolds just to share how the students did.
Good evening. We are certainly so very proud of our students here. This, I heard you talking about first, this is also Buchtel's first year having a middle level BPA chapter. And for them to advance to the state level, these two are first place state level winners in their respective competitions. Yala Boswell in keyboarding production and Gage Schaefer in prepared speech. Now, because they placed first at the state level, it qualified them to go to the national, which was in Dallas, Texas. So, another first, their first plane ride. Wow. So their first plane ride to Dallas, Texas, and then they corrected me coming back. Now, this is our second plane ride, okay? So, at the national level, they competed against everyone that made it to the nationals. Gage finished in the top 10 in prepared speech, and Yila finished 13th in keyboarding production. So we are so proud of these students. They did a fantastic job.
Thank you. What an exciting night. So again, we just want to congratulate Firestone and Litchfield and Buchtel for representing the city of Akron so well. So we're so proud of all of you. We want you to know at this time, if you guys would like to leave, you're more than welcome to do so. Our special guests, you don't have to remain for the whole entire meeting, but if you would like to, we'd love to have you. So it's completely up to you guys. See, that was easy.
This is no government.
What? We will now move into our old business. Councilwoman Keith rules.
Thank you, Madam President. If we may have time, please.
Time will be granted. Planning, Councilman Fusco.
Time on the agenda.
Time will be granted. Public Service, Councilman Keith.
Thank you, Madam President. Time on the agenda. However, I would like all of my colleagues to know that Mr. Luddle will be speaking with all of you about the item that we have on time. Either Mr. Little or Mr. Moore will be talking to him before next Monday.
Thank you. And if you want to just stand, because you're going to be up again, public safety.
We'd like time on that, please, Madam President.
Time will be granted. Moving into our new legislation.
Okay, item number 1, offered by Fusco. Ordinance declaring the improvement to certain parcels of real property to be of public purpose, describing the public improvements to be made to directly benefit those parcels, requiring the owner of the improvements thereon to make the service payments in lieu of taxes or deposit into a municipal public improvement tax increment equivalent fund and related authorizations pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code, sections 5709.40, 5709.42, and 5709.43, and declare an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
For the committee is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules. Thank you.
Oh, any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended. I'm sorry.
That's okay. This is attached. You will find the completion of TIF projects that this council had passed pursuant to the development agreement. This is simply notification to the state of Ohio that these TIF projects are actually completed and certified by the city, and we're notifying the state of Ohio that that is done.
Okay, thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Sample, Sim, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 2, offered by Keith. Ordinance authorizing Director of Public Service or his designee, after publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts for the replacement of failed air conditioning unit at the Elliott Community Center and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like this to be placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay, item number 2, offered by Keith. Ordinance authorizing Director of Public Service or his designee, after publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts for the planting of trees in connection with the restoration phase of the CSO program known as CSO Tree Planting 2018 and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would also like this to be placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 3, offered by Keith. Ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent, after publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts for the purchase and delivery of trees for the tree giveaways associated with the CSO program and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith.
Thank you so much. The committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
This is for the tree giveaway that happened down at the Blue Heron Homecoming that we had a week ago, I believe, or 2. And actually, I think it was our biggest turnout that we had. And once again, we find that people do want to know what's going on with our projects that we have. And we're very, very proud of our Waterways Renewed project. And this is one thing that we do down there is we have a tree giveaway. So we have offered these trees to people, and now we have to come up with the trees. So that is why we are looking for a suspension of the rules.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Samples, Sim, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 4, offered by Keith. Ordinance ratifying the actions of the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract with NBW Incorporated for the emergency replacement of the boiler at Good Park Golf Course and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
May we have this placed on the consent agenda, Madam President?
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 5, offered by Keith. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to apply for or enter into a grant agreement, if awarded, with the Ohio Department of Transportation for the reconstruction of taxi H1 rehabilitation of aprons at AB rehabilitations of runway 7-25 electrical, removal of obstruction at the end of runway 7, that would be good, and a pavement markings of runway 725 and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for a suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
We are entering as a city into a grant agreement. That is why we're asking for a suspension of the rules. So with this, it will allow us to apply for that grant.
Very good. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Busco, Hope, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 6, offered by Keith. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract without the formality of advertising for bids with the K Company for emergency replacement of the chilled water coils and air handler for the Stubbs Justice Center and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like this to be placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 6A, offered by Keith, a resolution declaring it necessary to improve various off-street parking facilities in the Kenmore Business District and the Canton Road Business District by sealing, resurfacing, repairing, painting, parking space stripes, sweeping, removing snow, cleaning sewer openings, providing lawn, turf, shrubs, and tree maintenance, litter, and other general cleanup, and otherwise improving and maintaining the same, and all when and where necessary, declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like this to be placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item 6B, offered by Keith, a resolution declaring it necessary to improve certain streets in the city between certain termini by providing street cleaning services and street lighting and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
This is our last item, and the committee would also like this to be placed on the consent agenda.
Thank you. This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay, item number 7, offered by Samples, ordinance ratifying the actions of the Director of Public Service in contracting with Choppy Construction Company Incorporated for the emergency repair of a 16-inch water main on Middleton Road, authorizing payment therefore and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Samples?
Thank you, Madam President. We'd like this on a consent agenda, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 8, offered by Sims, ordinance approving the addition of the property located at 3492 Copley Road in Copley Township to the Copley-Akron Joint Economic Development District, authorizing the mayor or his designee to amend the Copley-Akron JED agreement to include the property located at 3492 Copley Road, declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Sims?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's request is for consent.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay, item number 9, offered by Swirsky, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract after publicly advertising for bids for the LED lighting upgrades to the Municipal Service Center garages, approving specifications therefore and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Swirsky?
Committee wishes consent agenda for this item.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay, item number 10, offered by Mayor Horrigan. It's a resolution approving and confirming the appointments of Jason Segedy, John Moore, Rich Swirsky, Councilman Veronica Sims, Dave Selleck, Curtis Minter, Donna Delgado, and to to the Complete Livable Green Streets Advisory Commission and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Swirsky?
The committee's report is favorable, and we ask for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended. Do you have any comments, Councilman Swirsky?
This commission will guide a network of livable and green streets. It will provide safe and desirable travel for all users, not only for motorists, but for pedestrians and bicyclists. And at the same time, it will complement the green infrastructure practices that our Waterways Renewed program has already had, and it will incorporate the best practices from around the country.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
We will now go to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. If you wish to speak to this council during this time, we're going to ask that you approach the podium, that you please sign in, that you state your full name, spell your last name, and give us your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. Speakers are reminded that this is an official meeting. Remarks should be respectful and germane to council business. Speakers should refrain from making any personal attacks. Anyone who breaches decorum will be ruled out of order and may be removed from council chambers. Is there anyone here on this evening that would like to speak during our public comment period?
Hello, everybody. My name is Donnell Harris, 276 Cuyahoga Street. I want to address the Kenmore Construction Company. I believe the Public Utilities is the employer, and all the things that's going on with the house and all the construction. I know it's for a good cause, you know, for the sewer system, but we have a pretty much of a brand new house, 11 years old, and some of the things that's going on through the construction company, not knowing, they have got in contact with us with me, or our house, through a slip of a note, only, I think we talked to them one time, and conversation was basically, do I want to put my house up for a bid, and do I want to come up with a number to sell my house to them, or whatever they're going to do with it. I don't know if they need the whole street or just my house, but that's the only conversation I had with I don't even know who that was. I believe they had something to do with Public Utilities, because they didn't, all I know is by their first name. And but since then, it's been going on for 3 years. Some of the things that's going on with the house. It's been a crack in the kitchen. Finding out from my wife that some cracks in the basement. Like I said, we got a pretty much a good foundation as being an 11-year-old house, and it's sustaining some things, but right outside of my backyard, it's getting closer and closer, big boulders, and I think they may camp right close to my house. Their station where they meet at, I guess for the foreman, they have close to my house where they use the restroom. I forgot what they call, but it's very close to my house, and I'm trying to maintain it. Don't know to continue to put money in it, because don't know if it's going to be torn down or whatever. So I'm up in the air on a lot of those things. I want to have like I said before, the last time I was here, I haven't got a decent night's sleep in 3 years because of the construction. I think they start about 6 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Friday, which is, they're doing their job, but the boulders move the house. Everyone that they put down, everyone that they pick up, I could feel it, especially when I was working on second shift. So I just want to bring it to light to that area, what they're going to do. Want to be more in detail of their insight, the whole street, because we're getting together, you know, by numbers, and we're
Sir, your time is up. I'm sorry.
Fed up. So
okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Harris, before you leave at the end of the meeting, if you don't mind to get in contact with Mr. Chris Little after the meeting, okay?
Okay.
I've already signed in, but Madam President, members of council, also, I see some deputy mayors and other cabinet people, the mayor. Good evening, and I passed out some notes just as a guide, okay, just to have you just kind of go along with me on this journey real quick.
Mr. Smith,
yes, ma'am.
We know we all know you, but can you say your name and your address for us?
Okay. All right, so here we go. Here's the narrative. It wraps around a 9-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Just state your name and your address for the record.
I do that. Ronald Smith, 931 Longview Avenue. Okay. My apologies. Okay, so the narrative is, there's this 9-year-old riding with his mother on this one particular day about a month ago. Now, mind you, the mother is someone who's well respected in this community. In fact, well respected in the LA community, well respected in West Akron by virtue of what she does. Also, she honorably did her tour of duty for this country. And the father of this 9-year-old also is a hardworking, law-abiding, productive member in this community, as well as taxpayers, and they do their due diligence by voting. With that said, now this 9-year-old says, hey, mommy, why aren't there more blacks working in all this construction out here? Now, unknown to this kid at that time, across town, there's a 91-year-old I had the pleasure and opportunity of talking to, but talking with others too. We're saying the same thing. A 9-year-old person, in my mind, in my opinion, and you all can, whatever your take is on it, hasn't learned how to filter anything yet. Doesn't know how to play the game of life yet, as we adults do. Okay. But had the perception of that there's something wrong with the situation where all this work and there's no blacks really working. You can find one or two every now and then, but to me that's like using a microscope to do that. I don't know if we should, where we are now, this is the 21st century, 2018. 50 years ago, that was a problem. So our appeal to you tonight is, and just marinate on it, because I know you don't have a quick and ready solution tonight, but I want you to think about it. We don't want a repeat of that, of the 60s. I know it too well, because personally I was there. Now I've seen the things that happen. I've seen all the destruction, the damage that happens when there's a lot of work going on, and members of the same species, we're all part of the human family. We just different varieties of the same species. When you got some working and some not working, that's a problem. It's problematic. When you got a 9-year-old talking about that never met this 91-year-old, and we're talking the same things, a familiar theme that's permeating throughout the community, it's a problem. So again, I'm just asking you guys to think about it, focus. I will be back. We'll elaborate on it some more, but it's problematic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you for having me tonight. I'm sure you all know who I am. Tug Massive from Akron Say No to Dope. A group of volunteers that provides unparalleled services in Akron, Ohio, free. I followed all of your guys' direction, met with who you guys asked me to meet with. Now I'm here frustrated, and I'm going to be here every Monday until I get some kind of help for my situation. We're asking for housing. Our housing project is to house mothers in recovery. They're trying to get their children back. We're going to provide them with a safe environment. We're going to provide them with clothing if necessary, a way to their appointments. We're going to get them into college, get them a career, and help them along the process of getting reunification with their children. So I think it's pretty important that the city get behind us at this time. I've been asking, I've jumped through your hoops. I just don't know what else I can do. I know that people have been purchasing properties for small fees. I'm asking for help. We've placed 728 people in treatment since our inception. That grows daily. I have 4 people scheduled to go to treatment tomorrow. I was approached by Summit County Public Health today to host a needle exchange on Kenmore Boulevard, which we so kindly inclined to do. That way we would be able to possibly counsel them into going into treatment. We've also been accepted into the food bank. We will be doing emergency food baskets once a month on every 3rd Saturday of the month, because the last month is the hardest, and a 3-day supply of emergency food once they set an appointment. We offer free clothes to anyone who comes in. Like I said before, the thrift store offers anonymity for people to get help. We have walk-ins several times a week. We help people with clothes that are on their way to go to treatment. We pay for all their gas. We buy underwear, socks, birth certificates, social security cards, IDs. So I think we do pretty well for not being funded by anyone. And I'm asking for help for some property so we can start this housing project. I don't think I'm out of line.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tug Massa. After the meeting, would you please meet with Mr. James Hardy?
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Emmanuel Bay at 380 Bailey Court.
And I'm Patricia Crane of the same place.
It's a lot that don't know that the gentleman with the black and strappy shirt, 286 Cuyahoga Street, Jeremiah Caldwell, is where we used to stay. And while we were there, we heard rumbling and thought something has crashed or something, but while we were there, I walked down to the basement, and the basement had wall had caved in, and we had to rush out of there. I called Jeremiah, and I said, "Your house is caving in," and we moved from there to 380 Bailey Court. And there is similar problems, but we believe that it's due to 286 from the work over there that's been done over there. 380 Bailey Court, when you drive up the court, there's virtually no lights. So anything or anybody could, we got seniors over there. So imagine driving up a dark court. It runs into the back of St. Thomas. No lights. So like I stated, anything and anybody could, it's dangerous. There needs to be also sewer work done up there. And we noticed at Glenwood, at the Glenwood facility, they have basketball, volleyball, things like that at the prison.
So in this court, I said, well, wait a minute. The guys that are coming from the Glenwood probably need, when they cross the street, well, we got citizens over there in the court needing all kind of help that might work against, fly at the face of that. But we wanted to just come in and just mention the fact that we do need help over there, and there could be some form of development that could enhance the citizens, the residents, seniors, for safety purposes, things of that type of nature. At one point in time, when I spoke to the guy that brings the mail, he said, well, because we had, the time that we were down here before, we did, with Mr. Little, he did do some.
Sir, your time is up. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, all right.
But thank you so much. And again, I'm going to ask if both of you after the meeting, if you will meet with Mr. Lutto after the meeting, okay?
Good evening, Cynthia Bell, 123 Must House Street. First of all, Madam President and council members, I just want to thank you for having us here and hearing our concerns. I want to say after the meeting last week, we were able to meet with the mayor and Mr. Moore, and Mr. Moore actually stopped down on Monday, so we feel at least heard, and we look forward to whatever happens going forward. We're in the process of gathering some quotes, getting some estimates, so maybe we can get something moving pretty quickly. I know Mr. Jeremiah Caldwell, his house hasn't been seen yet, and I think he's of immediate concern. Ms. Brazil, they did come down and exterminate and blocked where the sewer rats were coming in. So we're feeling pretty good about that. But we do appreciate it, but we're going to be here so that you know that, we're not going away and that we're going to hold you to task. So bear with us. We appreciate it. And Mr. Somerville, thank you for stopping down also.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Bell. Mr. Nome?
My name is Steve Nome. It's N-O-M-E. Address 1928 6th Street, Cuyahoga Falls. I'm here about the retirees' insurance. I was impressed when I attended last week's council meeting. Both the council and the mayor listened to the beekeepers who pointed out some flaws in the proposed legislation which would raise their registration fee tenfold from $5 to $50. And I was particularly impressed how quickly the mayor took action to withdraw the legislation. Now, I've attended nearly every council meeting since last November, and I've observed council's response to my comments and the comments of others during the public comment segment. As I see it, it generally appeared disinterested, but council tolerates comments from the public, but I usually summarize that my comments have fallen on deaf ears, or on some occasions I've said, if looks could kill, I'd be dead. Now, one of the council members was quoted in the Beacon Journal last Friday as saying, "Thank goodness we have leaders that listen. All future legislation should also include talks with stakeholders and council members." I agree 100%. If council and administration had talked to the unions, the retirees, prior to raising the cost of retiree spouses from $30 a month to $1,189.61 a month, a 40-fold increase, a reasonable cost could have been worked out, which would have made a lawsuit from one of the retirees and the need for an arbitrator to rule against the city in a dispute with the FOP unnecessary. Now, this brings me back to my unanswered questions from last week. What is the deadline for the city filing an appeal of the arbitrator's March 27th decision of the suit between the city and the FOP? Has the city already filed an appeal? If the city is not appealing the decision, when will action be initiated to comply with the arbitrator's ruling? When questions are made during this public comment segment, it requires more than a dismissive thank you for your comments. Tonight I'm here, other retirees are here, and we're looking for answers. And it just alarms me that while transparency in government is extolled, the Akron city government seems to be opaque. I don't seem to get any answers. I can't see what's going on, and it's a mystery to me. So solve my mystery, answer my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. No. Just as a reminder, I know the law department sent you an email, and they did provide answers to all of your questions that you had on last week. So if you can, check your email.
Okay, well, I checked it earlier today. I did not see it. Do you know when they sent it? I will check it when I get home.
If you can check it, and then also...
I did check it between last Monday and this afternoon, and I did not see it. So I'm just not aware of it, and I will look at it then.
Okay, please, and we'll double check on our end as well.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Sidney Richards, 175 Oak Park Drive. Black people, we need to stop doing and following the Democratic Party. They're taking advantage of us. They're not doing crap for us. Wake up.
Thank you, Mr. Richards. Is there anyone else here to speak during our public comment period? Seeing none, we will close our public comment period and go into our committee assignments. Rules, Councilman Keith.
2:30.
Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman. Planning, Councilman Fusco. Public Service, Councilman Keith.
2 o'clock.
Public Utilities, Councilwoman Samples. Public Safety, Councilwoman Keith.
2:15.
Parks and Rec, Councilman Neal. Housing, Councilman Kilby. Health and Social Services, Councilman Freeman. Economic Development, Councilwoman Sims. Green Committee, Councilman Swirsky.
To be announced.
Is there anything else coming before council? Councilman Samples?
I just want to remind my colleagues that on this Thursday at 11:30 will be the ribbon cutting for Stark State College Akron, and it will be open for public tours that same day at 5:30 in the evening. So I encourage you all to come out and walk the building. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilwoman Keith?
I just want to make mention that this last weekend, the Summit, our probate court put on a senior expo, and a number of my council colleagues were there. It was positively wonderful. I had the good fortune to be sitting at the information desk, so I got all the compliments. And it took a year to put this on. I had very little to do with it, but it took a year to put this on. It was so well orchestrated that at every booth they went to, they took something from it. And there were people of all ages, because whether you were a senior or not, you might be going for an aunt or a mother or a father or whatever. But I just want to do a big shout out, because we do probably not enough for our children, and I'm a huge advocate for them. But I believe that what we did, what Judge Eleanor Marsh Stormer did in the probate court, along with a lot of volunteers, what they provided to our seniors was an affirmation that you are important, that we do care, and that we are here for you. And it was just very well attended and a wonderful expo. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Fusco?
Thanks. I just want to mention that I appreciate everyone's input. That so did not seem appropriate. But everyone's input whenever it comes to the VBR that we've been working on. Obviously, we're off Monday, but if everyone could send me a comment, I think I have everyone's comments. Give me a call or send me an email, and hopefully in a couple weeks or so, we're going to have something that we're going to be able to look at and go from there. So, and if there's anyone you want me to talk to as well, more than happy to do so. While I have the floor, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Mobian and Kamer.
We have a motion. Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Just a reminder that we will not be in session on Monday due to the holiday, so we'll be back on June 4th. So everyone have a nice holiday weekend. Any objections? We will adjourn.